Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Well, She-Hulk, is it sex positive? Because it's supposed to be. According to Kat Coiro, she says the production team wanted to make this series about a woman navigating sex, but also something that everybody can enjoy, including children. You can't have those two things together. You can't navigate sex at the same time making it appropriate for children, right? Because those are two very different types of subject matters. It's not appropriate. And this is a Disney Plus series. So a parent is expecting like, oh, mom, I'm going to watch She-Hulk. And then, young children are watching this, just knowing there's inappropriate stuff. And, knowing this going in, they're producing it at this level and saying, okay, well, it's really for everybody, but of course there's inappropriate content there. It's not hinted at inappropriate content. It would just be, directly shown, and it's fine. That's what their attention was. And they knew it was inappropriate content. So this is the kind of work that Disney is doing. This is not why Disney was supposed to be buying the Marvel brand and the Marvel universe in the first place. They bought it as a boys' property because they were known for and had all the princess-related girl properties. That's what they paid $4 billion for, was to have boys' properties. Women navigating their sexual explorations with body positivity and sex positivity is not what the Marvel brand is about. This is not on brand. But particularly because if you're going to make this sort of content, you can't say including children in the same couple of sentences, obviously. Beyond that, of course, their other purpose of making the show turned out to be, and they admit that the series exists as an FU to critics. Now, why would you want an FU? This is like a restaurant having restaurant critics saying, we want to have an FU to critics. It's like, well, that's not how any of this works. You're supposed to have a balanced relationship. Critics are wrong. Critics have an opinion. It's usually based in something, and it's usually based in expertise. Also, the least sophisticated critics, the fans that pay for all the content by consuming it, obviously they have a right to criticize what they like and what they don't like. But now you have this whole term, toxic fan. Where was that created? Toxic fan was created around the same time they created misinformation. Like all these new terms to halt criticism. But this was the other purpose of making the show. To attack their critics, vulgarly, and to troll and attack other trolls who are their critics, but they're also trolls, obviously, if they're attacking their critics and they're trolling them. Does that make any sense? It doesn't have to make sense because it's woke. Everything is convoluted and everything is contradictory. If it's not convoluted and contradictory, it can't be woke. Let's get into the first article. Before we do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up when you like it. Really appreciate you guys. The channel's been doing great thanks to you. Okay, well, we know what this is all about. According to She-Hulk attorney-at-law director Kat Coiro, in addition to trolling the trolls, a secondary goal of Marvel's latest Disney Plus series, I thought Disney was supposed to be like a family-friendly brand. I guess not anymore. Was to present a story about a woman navigating sex, but also make it something that everybody can enjoy, including children. Again, you really can't put those two together. It's like steak and peanut butter. They don't mix. Coiro provided this insight into her and her team's intent with the Jade Giantess during a post-game interview given to Polygon featuring the airing of She-Hulk's first season finale. Therein, the director explained that not only did the series production team set out to, as previously affirmed by head series writer Jennifer Gause, focus their story on the smaller moments of superhero life and being able to see a superhero coming home kicking her shoes off after a long day at work, but also to address what they perceived as a societal fear around sex and around the idea of sex positivity. Couple of things. There's nothing wrong with showing the smaller moments of a superhero's life. in context with a lot of action. It's cool because you get a contrast and there's a relatability and there are human beings, not just superheroes. I do take offense at calling She-Hulk a superhero, whatsoever, because she's not a hero. She rejected being a hero in the first episode. So she's not a hero. She's actually a villain. But that's what I always say about She-Hulk. To know what's a hero or a villain, go to the end of Spider-Man's origin story. When he realized he went too far being self-indulgent with his Spider-Man powers and didn't want to stop a crook when he could have because it wasn't his job, man. And then that crook wound up killing his uncle, who he loved very much, who loved him very much. That's when Spider-Man, Peter Parker, realized, oh, I have to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I've got to use my powers to serve the neighborhood. It's fine to be cool, to swing around on webs and use my power and, use his power in ways that he wants, but he's got to serve society in a major way. Nothing wrong with a little self-indulgence. But letting crooks run free, no, that's what villains do. That's not what heroes do. But that said, there's nothing wrong with this, showing slice of life stuff with a superhero. But you minimize it because a superhero is also supposed to have a lot of action. This concept of them showing perceived societal fears around sex and the idea of sex positivity, that's ridiculous. You can't show something like that in this format. You'd look and you'd say well, what do they mean by sex positive? Here's their definition from ISSM.info. The term sex positive can be interpreted in many ways. Well, now you know it's woke, right? Because it doesn't have to be interpreted, doesn't have to be defined. But let's define a little bit. For most, it involves having positive attitudes about sex and feeling comfortable with one's own sexual identity and with the sexual behavior of others. I'm going to say this. If really that was the goal of theirs, and they wanted to have society fear sex less and be more comfortable with their own bodies and their choices and things like that and their relationships, that's fine. But the problem is, everything they did was executed so absolutely poorly, starting from the first episode to the last. And there have been many films, many TV shows that have showed women in an empowered way, being able to do things that they couldn't otherwise have done before, and they've opened the culture up. Such as Mary Tyler Moore is a great example of that. Many women were inspired by Mary Tyler Moore. It was executed well, and she was shown to be competent and doing well in work, and she was kind of a modern woman. Now, do women have a better life as modern women versus being a housewife from back in the day? That's a bigger conversation than this video. I'm not a woman. It's not for me to decide. But that said, at least if you're going to create propaganda, and propaganda, there's nothing wrong with creating propaganda, but you've got to do it well. It's got to be smooth. It's got to be executed well. You shouldn't even have to tell someone that this was what one of your agendas is. If you're familiar with Mary Tyler Moore, you know what the show was about and you know what they were trying to show. Not because of an interview, because people talk about it, you could watch it and immediately understand what they're trying to achieve by structuring the show that way and telling the stories that way. And this is what's missing, is competency from this woke stuff. There's nothing wrong with showing, hey, this is another way to live. This is another opportunity in life. The moral of the story is, but by the end of the season, by the end of a couple of the episodes, you start to see and understand this without even being directly told. Because that's what a good story is. That's what executing something correctly is. That's what's so offensive about woke content and what's so offensive about absurd things that they say like this. Of course, this is not for children. So it was our job to keep having the conversation, she said. We wanted to say, look, she's a woman in her 30s, navigating modern life. Sex is part of that story. And ask how far we could go. Well, you don't have to have an argument with the audience or with the trolls about whether something is appropriate or not. All you have to do is do it well, and then it becomes inherently appropriate. It's inherently appropriate if you do it well. If you do it sloppily and you say, well, look, this is what we were trying to do, and we wanted to say this, and, you trolls, and stop complaining. It's like, just do a good job. If you can't do a good job, ask for help. And if you can't do a good job and you can't ask for help in getting your work done properly, this is what happens. And all their reputations are attached to all this. There's still work for people producing woke content and stuff like that. It's going to start drying up really fast. Warner Brothers Discovery is not producing woke content. They're not having it. So what that means is, and I've done a few videos about this. I'm about to do yet another. They closed down their pipeline program, which was putting woke people all over the freaking industry. Not thousands and thousands, but plenty. Year after year after year after year these last few years. So the point is this, if they're not going to buy woke creating content, what are these writers going to do? Warner Bros. Discovery they used to buy a lot of content. They're not going to be buying this kind of content. So all of these creators are going to have to go and dump their garbage at Disney. And I call it garbage because it's not executed well. It's not a good story. I'm not sure if I said this in another video yet, because I never did a video about this. I was thinking about doing it, but I did not do it. Talking about this concept of sex positivity in She-Hulk. Is that why she was dancing and twerking for no reason with whoever, Megan Thee Stallion? Is that why she was? Because at the end of that episode, where She-Hulk is twerking with her friend the Stallion, it made no sense. Look, you have to have some reason for the characters to take the action they're taking. You have to. Otherwise, characters are just talking to each other, and then all of a sudden, one of them gets up and walks out of the room for no reason. Maybe comes back wearing a giant hat and starts talking as if nothing happened. Or in this case, you see Megan Thee Stallion and She-Hulk in her lawyer's office signing her for a representation agreement to do legal work for her, but for no reason. They could have made up a purpose. Hey, I want someone to look at my record contracts. Hey, I just got an offer to do a movie deal, even though she's not an entertainment lawyer. Hey, I want a good superhero lawyer on my payroll. I've been getting bothered by some supervillains lately. I want to have you on retainer in case I have a problem. Whatever. I'm not going to come up with something. Give me 15 minutes. I'll have a better idea than these guys ever could have come up with. Give me 3 minutes and I'll at least have an idea. I just gave you a couple of ideas. They didn't even discuss a purpose for why she was retaining She-Hulk as a lawyer. That's not good. That shows a tremendous lack of self-respect for the writing team. And it shows, of course, tremendous disrespect for the audience who are supposed to be suspending disbelief on some level that this character is an attorney. Secondly, there was no story purpose for them to twerk. It wasn't like, you know what, girl, let's celebrate. You're my lawyer now. Like, okay, that would have been stupid, but I didn't hear that even. Why not? They were just twerking. And they, again, let them twerk all day long. It's fine. But is it quitting time? You know what? I always wanted to twerk. Like, all right, great. Let's twerk together. Like something. But no, they were just twerking out of nowhere. The epilogues with the drunk party girl partying with Wong, those things made, and yes, I watched it. Those things made a lot more sense and had like some realish moments in them than what that was. That completely out of context, nonsensical twerking part. But that, I assume, is part of this. I'm just trying to make sense of it for them because they made no sense. That's part of body positivity or sex positivity. This She-Hulk stuff is absolutely terrible. It's a horror. Okay. To this end, the director concluded that the team wanted to make it realistic and about a woman navigating sex, but also make it something that everybody can enjoy, including children, because there's an element of the show that is really fun for young people. Though Coiro offered no further insight into the series' direction, she did end her time with Polygon by speculating to the Jennifer Walters' larger MCU future. Quote, two of the things that really stood out to me in the season were Jennifer and Bruce's chemistry and Jennifer and Matt Murdock's chemistry, she teased. I know that Daredevil has an 18-episode show coming out, so I would definitely like to see our She-Hulk appearing there. Yes, that would be fantastic. Probably not. And also, this costume doesn't look right. I know his original costume was yellow and red, but do a better version of it. Or don't do it at all. Because it looks terrible. I was a big fan of Daredevil. And it was like the comic that I really liked in the 1980s from Marvel the most. I collected X-Men, Hulk, Spider-Man, and Web of Spider-Man. I got G.I. Joe. But Daredevil, I love Frank Miller's Daredevil. It was just so cool. And he would have found a way to make it cool if he was going to use a yellow costume. There's no reason to put this yellow costume in. I don't know why they did this. Quote, and there seems to be hints that there might be some Hulk movies, and I could definitely see She-Hulk joining Hulk and whatever adventures he's going to go on next, she said. But that really is a mystery, and only Kevin has the answer. A reference to Kevin Feige and also the robot version of Kevin Feige. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. I don't think that She-Hulk was a good show. I do think it was canceled. I did a video about that just the other day. And I don't think we'll be seeing a season 2. I think that we're going to see less Disney Plus series. Armor Wars was supposed to come out next year. It's not coming out now. It was supposed to be a 6-episode series. And the phony baloney Hollywood Reporter put out an exclusive statement saying they were shaking up Armor Wars at Marvel. What they were actually doing was canceling Armor Wars. And then they claimed, it's going to be its own movie now. And they said, and this is how you know it's nonsensical, the writer for the TV series was going to be the writer for the film. So the TV series that they decided to cancel, but maybe they tried to make it sound like they were upgrading it to its own film. That writer is supposedly going to go and write, a $200 million movie. That's not going to happen. That's not how it works. You're not writing TV for something that doesn't come out and they just say, let's just roll this into you being the screenwriter for a $200 million budget film. That does not happen. Maybe it happens, 1 in a million times. It doesn't happen in reality. So that might wind up being one of their special presentations, Armor Wars. But you're not going to see a second season of She-Hulk. And I don't think you're going to see her play this character much more in the future, if ever again. Because honestly, she's... What a disappointment. Let's just leave it at that. All right. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below, and I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.